All right. So when you go back and do that eyewitness quiz, I want you to just kind of think a little bit about how many you got right. All right. So once you took it, use that to think a little bit about the account and think a little bit about, like, okay, you tested yourself now to look at a picture and how many of those questions did you get right? Really kind of puts into perspective of how much we pay attention to the actual accounts that we read. How much can we trust the people that allegedly witness this history? Because as we can see, of even witnessing something, we don't necessarily always get all the details. All right. So now I'm going to take a little bit a different direction here when we look at the idea of our general historical knowledge. So the eyewitness account is supposed to kind of base you in this idea of, okay, well, if we think about everybody else and even our own ability to eyewitness things, all right, there's that general thing of like the physical aspect of us looking at something, processing it, and then putting it down on paper. Well, now, is there anything in our brain that impacts how or what we put down in paper? What is it that we know about the world, and how we know it? Does that impact our processing and writing it down? So this is what I want you to do. Okay. You're gonna pause this and you're gonna try to time yourself. Okay. And I'm not gonna time you or anything. This is on you. This is just a fun activity, but it's gonna play a part into what you do for the next assignment and the final assignment for this week. I want you to take 1 minute and write the name of a famous person who was each of the following things below. All right. And so I want you to go through and just try to write a name of each one of those things. All right. Go one each. If you get one of each, then go back and do another one. Okay. And when you get to that point, I want you to count up after you time yourself for a minute of how many that you got in total. You have them all counted out. Now I want you to think a little bit about the following. I want you to go back and do this with your list. Cross out all of the men, white people, any person from a Western or developed society. So that could mean like Europe, any European country, any sort of country like the United States or North America, where we think of a Western developed or mostly white country. And then go through and see how many are left. Okay, so now that you've come back, did anybody get a woman or a non-white person? And think about that. Now look at your list and think about that. I would bet most of you probably did not get one, and some of you may have. And this is one of the interesting things about when we look at the general knowledge that we have. You're all living in the United States, and you have all been given a very white and a very male history. And that's really not just the problem of the United States. That spans centuries, that goes back even to the patriarchal white male society that started with our colonial leaders here in Spain, France, England, and the Dutch. And so it's not just a U.S. problem. This is a problem that goes back even into European domination of the world, going back into the 1500s. So you're going to have to answer the question that's at the bottom here about who, what, where, how, when, why our shape or frame of reference for history is created. And you can do that right here in this discussion, the general knowledge discussion. And this is the last assignment I want you to do. And I even want you to kind of respond to other people. So if anybody has an interesting idea that you think is something to reply to, I'd appreciate it if you kind of went back and looked at that. All right. Next week, we're going to get into a little bit more about getting to know one another and applying it to what we call revisionist history. So come back on Monday. Please, for this week, have the day 5 assignment submitted by Sunday at midnight, as well as the day 2 story starter, because I'd like to go through those and see them. Have a good weekend, and see you back here